What's happening, everybody? Trey here, joined again by my dad, Sean, and today, Reactions to the Classics, we're going to be taking a look at the compilation record from Canadian songwriting great Gordon Lightfoot, Gord's Gold.
Yes, sir.
This comes to us as a suggestion courtesy of Josh Davis, one of our great patrons. Thank you, Josh, for suggesting this. Him and his father, they listened to Gordon Lightfoot a lot growing up. Josh, I know you're Canadian, so it fits.
Oh, yeah, exactly, man.
Gordon Lightfoot, one of the Canadian greats. I wasn't familiar with any of his work, so thank you, Josh, for suggesting this to us. And if this is your first time stopping by the channel, we appreciate it. Hear Reactions to the Classics, where we take a look back some of the most classic albums of all time and do detailed track-by-track reviews. So if that sounds like something interesting to you, be sure to hit that big red subscribe button, and you can link up with us on Facebook or Patreon down below. But all that to say, let's get into this album.
It's a compilation album. It was released in 1975, and he did an interesting thing, Trey. He re-recorded his earlier songs. So side 1 and 2 are earlier songs, but he re-recorded them at this time. So they sound very similar to each other. And when asked why he re-recorded that, he just simply said, because I didn't like how I sounded on them. So simple enough, and hey, it's Gordon's right to do that. So let's jump into it. There's 22 tracks. And side 1 starts with I'm Not Sayin and Ribbon of Darkness medley. I'm Not Sayin was released as a single in 1965, peaked at 12 in Canada, and was on his 66 debut, Lightfoot. Lyrics detail the singer's promise not that he can necessarily love the subject or be true to the subject, but only that he can try to do so. Ribbon of Darkness is written by Gordon, released in 65 as a single for Marty Robbins. It was also released as a single for Gordon's first album, Lightfoot. This one is interesting to me, Trey, just because the two songs are absolutely a dichotomy, a difference in each other. It's very interesting to put them together.
Yeah, because he starts off saying, hey, I'm not going to promise you that I'm always going to be
I'll
there
try
for you, this and that.
He's lowering expectation levels, fellas.
Exactly. He says, I'm not going to deny or mistreat you, but don't expect me necessarily to be faithful all the time. But then the Ribbon of Darkness comes, and that's when some sadness hits, when his love actually did walk out of the door. Very soft sounding, great chord progressions. I think we're going to focus more in this review on the lyricism, because that's kind of the highlight, obviously, in the songwriting of Gordon Lightfoot. But this was a good intro to him.
Yeah, because a lot of the songs are just acoustic with a little bit of other backing. And yeah, it's just him singing, man. And he is a master songwriter. Brings us the second song, Song for a Winter's Night. His first recorded for the album, The Way I Feel. It's written on a hot summer night in Cleveland when he was on tour, but he was missing his wife at the time, and he was thinking about, I guess, that winter time. And it mainly acoustic again, Trey, but it has like a little, I don't know, it's a tambourine, I think. Sounds like a sleigh bell at the end, just to kind of set the tone for winter.
Some nice percussive elements in here, and reading through the lyrics, you can see that he's definitely longing for somebody that's either dead or at the very least gone.
Right.
He wants his love there by his side. A very big thematic shift from that first song, where the guy and the protagonist didn't really care one way or another. He's going to go out and live his life. Here, he has that embracive love, and he's longing for it. So nice, beautiful track, and those are scattered throughout there. And then we're going to move on to track number 3.
Canadian Railroad Trilogy. It's over 7 minutes long. It was commissioned by the CBC for a special broadcast on January 1st, 1967 to start Canada's centennial year. It describes the building of the Trans-Canada Canadian Pacific Railway, which was completed in 1886. It took 3 days to write. This thing is an epic song, kind of divided into 3 parts, and it tells you the difficulty in building a road. The guys lost their lives and all those things. So I think it's a really good song.
Yeah, definitely a unique take. And that's what I love about songs. I would never have heard, being an old Texas boy in the 2010s here, hearing about the Canadian railroad system, and great imagery here. You mentioned it's almost 3-in-1, and we see that with the guitar picking style switching a few minutes into the song. So excellent guitar work, and it notes how we often don't think about everything around us, whether it be railroads or in modern day times, just the highways and all the crazy roads, but it mentioned, I was reading, over 600 people died in the construction.
Yes, man, people giving their lives, especially back then. There's no technology. You're just doing this with your hands and a few little tools and on dangerous areas and over bridges and mountains, and man.
Yeah, it would have been, it just put me in that setting and thinking how crazy this would have been. And I did enjoy the line here that kind of showcased the danger of it, saying, "We have opened up the soil with our teardrops and our toil. Many are the dead men too silent to be real." Again, reflecting how this came at a cost, and oftentimes the people in money and power didn't really care because, hey, we got the railroad. So a nice track, and that moves us on to the next one.
Softly, which she comes in the lyrics, the woman comes in the middle of the night, she sneaks out in the morning. It's kind of a chilled vibe just with the acoustic guitar. I don't know if it's literal, this woman actually does sneak in and sneak out, or if it's some sort of metaphorical thing.
I thought this could have been a possible affair situation.
Yeah, I thought that too.
Because she comes in, like you mentioned, softly, and then after...
in the dead of night, and she's out before it's light.
Exactly. See, that's what makes me think it is possibly an affair, because she doesn't stay throughout into the morning, and then she's on her way by the road again. So, and again, it was apropos, softly. It was a soft tune, and then it's going to give us to track number 5.
For loving me, and did she mention my name? And this one's very similar to the medley that kicked this thing off. For the first song, he's being a jerk. Don't get too attached to me.
Savage.
Don't do this. He winds out all these things. But then on the second one, he's reminiscing. He's running to somebody from his hometown or his old town where he was at, and he's just talking to this person, but then he keeps working in. Did she mention my name? And he keeps working. So
wondering, was my name dropped? Do I still matter?
Does she still care about me? So absolutely two polar opposites, and an interesting way to combine those songs.
And this ends the first side.
It does.
So I like how, it starts and ends the A side here with two songs that are combined. And I just got to read some of these savage lines Gordon was dropping down
great
here. I'm moving on. I won't think of you when I'm gone. I got 100 more like you, so don't be blue. I'll have 1,000 before I'm through. Isn't that how it works in life? We just go and rebel or whatever. Somebody doesn't maybe have those feelings back to us. We're like, whatever, I don't need you anyway. But then as time goes on, those feelings of longing are still there. So great tune.
I agree 100%. That's going to move us to side 2. Kicks off with Affair on 8th Avenue. It's kind of self-explanatory. Just kind of goes through an affair he has with a woman that he met on 8th Avenue.
Yeah, I'm just going to bunny that up with what you have to say. Pretty self-explanatory. And we got a Jim Croce cover next, Steel Rail Blues.
He's going to see his girl. He's fell on hard times in whatever town he's in. She sends him a train ticket, but then at the very end of it, he ends up gambling away the train ticket and is trying to hitchhike his way there. So kind of an interesting take on just what you talked about at the start. The lyrics are fantastic. Every song paints a picture, tells a story. So
yeah, this was one of my favorite stories because it starts off very heartfelt. You really empathize with the protagonist because he's in this dead-end town looking for a bed. He's just longing. He says, man, Lord, I could go for a home-cooked meal, something along those lines.
The simple stuff, man. When you're in hard times, you go back and look at those simple things for comfort.
He's looking forward to that train home, and then as you mentioned, he got drunk one night, gambled his ticket away. Oh man, it's just a heartbreaker at the end. Great tune, one of my favorites. We're gonna keep on trekking in side B
with Wherefore and Why. There's more instrumentation on this, more up tempo. I really enjoyed this one because it does stand out as being different so far.
I think one of the differences is we had drums come in. He has an epiphany with the Wherefore, noting it's in the sun above, in the one you love. You'll never know the reason why. You don't know sometimes why you're so intoxicated with this person, but it's the way nature worked out.
It is, and that moves us on to Bitter Green. It was first released in '68 on his album Back Here on Earth. It was a single, went to number 44 in Canada. It's simply a ballad about a woman who roams the hillsides over the town for years, waiting for her lover to come home. It's not real detailed in that. I don't guess he wanted it to be.
Yeah, it seems as you're reading, it notes kind of all that there was like a sailor, these people that she was dreaming of. And then at the end, she dies, I think, because a man comes to her gravesite, kneels down, and then he dreams of kissing her. So again, I like the way he flips some of these conventions on their head, especially in those last verses, and we come to those climaxes in the song, and then we're gonna move on into
Early Morning Rain. Now, he wrote this in 1964, but kind of his inspiration was from 1960. Gordon was in Los Angeles. He was homesick. He would go out to the airport and watch the planes take off, and that imagery was still in his head. In 1964, when he was taking care of his 5-month-old son, laid him down for a nap and said, you know what? think I'm going to write me a song. And somehow he pulled in his mind back to this time.
That memory triggered.
Yeah, and it produced this.
Yeah, and what I got from reading the lyrics to this is just the theme that runs throughout this whole album, and that's of longing.
Yeah,
Whether it be for a woman, whether it be for home, that's what's apparent here. This guy is stuck at this airport, cold and drunk as can be.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's longing to be able to be on that plane, but he's just stuck on the ground. So I thought it was a fine way to end the B-side and to end the songs that Gordon re-recorded. We're going to start off side 3 with Minstrel of the Dawn. Wonderful acoustic work in here. And here, I had to look it up. A minstrel was somebody back in the medieval times who was like a musician, a person that would play, I think, for the royalty and whatnot. And here he just kind of Gordon does, and describes what that would have been like kind of for a minstrel. And one could say that Gordon Lightfoot himself is a modern day minstrel, I think. So I kind of like how that tied together. Yeah,
good observation. I don't really have much to add to that. It will take us to Sundown. And Trey, before we did this album, I thought I only knew one Gordon Lightfoot song, and it was one that was requested on our live stream, probably by you, Josh, I don't know. But then I heard Sundown, and I realized, no, wait a minute, I do know a Gordon Lightfoot song. It reached #1 in the U.S., its only single in the U.S. to do that. Lyrics seem to describe a troubled romantic relationship, often cited as notorious groupie Kathy Smith, with the narrator recounting an affair with a hard-loving woman who got me feeling mean. Gordon has went on record with saying that this woman damaged him more than any woman he's ever been around. And he also, in 2008, in an interview, said, I think I really wrote this song because she went off with some of her friends to the bar, and I started thinking, what's the woman I love doing at the bar? So yeah, when that mind starts racing now, some things can start happening, but I mean, it produced a fantastic song.
Oh yeah, we have some electric guitar elements in here, and this was definitely one of my favorites.
Oh yeah.
It was a nice one to discover. Just that raw emotion. He was saying that loving you was like one of the first mistakes that I made, and that kind of started the spiral to where he was at now, just curious, anxious in his mind, wondering, oh man, I wonder where she's at since I'm at home here right now. So wonderful, wonderful tune. I really dug it. Then that takes us into an apropos title, Beautiful, because the song is beautiful, and again, we see that contrast, because in this song, unlike in Sundown, this woman's never going to stray away. So I dug it.
I dug it too. Beautiful lyrics, like you said. Good song. That's going to take us into Summer Side of Life. Not a bad tune, Trey. I don't know what really stood out on it for me, but it's fine.
Yeah, it was a bit more rocking in nature with the guitar, and then we had the drums again. Just from my interpretation, it's almost a look back, I think, from an older person, maybe, looking back on that summer side of life, but now the tears are flowing for these people. Hard times would be had just from the day-to-day, year-to-year life struggles that occur. So I think that's something maybe people can relate to. And then going on, moving to the next tune.
Rainy Day People, which this was actually released as a single, as a top 30 hit in the U.S. It is about just what it sounds like. Everybody in their life needs somebody who's a rainy day person, or ideally rainy day people. So things aren't going well for you. These are the people that you turn to when they don't abandon you in those rainy days. You can't really tell a friend when everything's going well, right, Trey? But you can tell when the chips are down, and that's what he writes about in this. I thought it was an interesting subject for a song, and an excellent subject.
What a great theme here. I like it. We've had so many different themes.
Yes.
And he's very relatable in his lyrics, because this goes past all different types of people and backgrounds, because everybody, no matter where you are, you want that rainy day person or people in your life. And then we're going to keep on trucking to
Cotton Jenny, and this one was on his 1971 album Summer Side of Love. It was later released as a single by Canadian country pop artist Anne Murray. What I got out of it, he's working in the cotton gin, and he goes home every day to Jenny. I don't know if she's really a person or it's some sort of metaphor. It was kind of so-so for me. It almost sounds like a steel guitar or something on there. I'm not sure that's what it is, but it definitely has a different sound to it.
Yeah, I'm with you. This was a bit more forgettable, but it seems that he notes that the wheels of love keep turning.
Yes,
this guy doesn't have like a penny to his name, essentially, but the love's still enough to power them both through. Start side 4 with Don Quixote. This describes loosely, I think, the Don Quixote story. As I was going through notes, a man who's a bit mysterious. Gordon notes some contrast between Don Quixote. One of my favorite lines was, "See the soldier with his gun who must be dead to be admired." Great lyrics in this, one of the best, I think, lyrical songs in this.
I agree with that. I don't know that I would play it on repeat, but the story told is fantastic, which brings us to track 2 on side 4, Circle of Steel, which is basically telling the story. Its backdrop of it is Christmas. You figure out later on, which as we're shooting this, I've got a Christmas tree right over here, so it's kind of appropriate. But the mom has all these problems and some substance abuse problems, and the kid is having issues, and tells the kid that, you know, your dad did what he had to do to provide. Basically, now he's behind bars for 3 years, and just kind of this, you know, they're on welfare, and just kind of this story of real life, as you mentioned earlier. His lyrics are very relatable.
Yeah, exactly. And again, he notes something that you wouldn't really expect, because Christmas time usually is a time where people are more happy.
Yeah, we're thinking everybody's all good.
Yeah, exactly. But then just as the verses unfold, he notes the mom's substance abuse, and then that last line, yet again, he saves some of his best lines for the end, where your dad always worked hard to provide, and now he's serving 3 years. So a little bit of a depressing track, but a great one nonetheless. And then we go to
Old Dan's Records, which, talking about, it's not really a depressing track, but the content is really interesting, again, to write a song about this real life. Old Dan has passed away, so they're getting together, family, friends, and they're playing Old Dan's records. They're dancing to him, they're singing along, and they're talking about how Dan would be so happy that they're gathered together doing that.
Yeah, again, that theme of nostalgia runs apparent.
They have more instruments, good drums, so I thought that was nice as well. Next up is If You Could Read My Mind, reached #1 in Canada and was his first hit in the US, hitting #5 in February of '71. He cited his divorce as a inspiration for this, and once you know that and you read the lyrics and you listen to it, it makes the song have so much more power. I love this song. I played it on repeat after I was done with all my notes and kind of the process I go through on the review. I've heard this song before, not a ton of times, but I had heard it before, but I had no idea what it was about and just heard it in passing. So basically, it's my fave.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites too. And again, that the description that he notes, he says he's like a ghost chained in like a dark castle, which I would imagine is what happens, or the thought process for people going through separation and a divorce. And notes in there that the ending of the marriage makes it a little tough to remember the great times they had. He says the feeling's gone and I just can't get it back. One of the best vocal performances on here as well. A standout tune. We go on to the second to last track from the album of the same name, Cold on the Shoulder. Musically was a little bit of a highlight, had a bit of a Western vibe.
Yeah, more up-tempo and instrumentation.
Yeah, exactly. Don't have too much more to add on that. And then we end off this huge compilation record with
Taking a Drive on That Carefree Highway, Trey.
And here he noted that apparently in Phoenix, the Phoenix area around Arizona, there is actually like a carefree highway, and here Gordon imagines himself actually going on a carefree highway to get away from the trials of the world. Kind of wants to forget a lost love here. Yeah,
and I thought it was a good way to end this thing. It was a up-tempo track, and that's kind of the way you want to do it. So that takes us to our favorite tracks, Trey. If You Could Read My Mind and Sundown, for me, I know they were the two biggest hits on this thing, but I mean, for me, there's a reason for that. They're stand out. But all the rest of the tunes, there's not one of them that I dislike.
No, yeah, and I think that points to the quality just of this compilation record. I also like the Steel Rail Blues, as well as the Canadian Railroad Trilogy. And that's going to take us to our overall score. We usually don't rate compilation records, but we'll make an exception here for Josh.
Yeah, and I think it's a difficult thing to rate because of that, because it's 22 songs. For me, the songwriting is what stands out for Gordon. It's unbelievable. The guy just sits there most of the time, I'm imagining, in the studio with an acoustic and just sings the songs. They all tell stories, every one of them. There's not a filler in there. We're kind of lyric guys. Yeah. The two standout songs that I mentioned are just tremendous. So for that, Trey, I'm going to give this an 8.0.
I love it, man. I'm going to be around 8.25. Just the storytelling, start to bottom, is he deals with so many different topics and unique song stories. Just shows his flexibility with pretty much any subject matter, from love to longing to, you know, just personal trials that people deal with. So this was a fun record to listen to. I'm glad, Josh, you requested it, and let us know what you think of Gord's Gold in the comment section below. As always, Dad, appreciate the research.
That's a fun discovery on this one.
Oh yeah, and I'll be looking forward to more Gordon Lightfoot in the future. And if you enjoyed this video, y'all, be sure to hit that big red subscribe button. We upload multiple times a week in a variety of different genres, have live streams, a bunch of fun stuff. Love to have you in this community. And until next time, y'all, thank you so much for watching. Happy listening, my friends, and we will see ya.